Hi guys, it's Paul. Welcome back to my channel, or if you're here for the first time, welcome. Please be sure to like and subscribe. I would really appreciate that. Again, my name is Paul, and back here behind me, my co-host Timon. Say hello, Timon. He's sleepy. If you're just listening to the audio, you're gonna have to take my word for it. Timon is back behind me. Anyway, thanks again for watching. Today I want to talk about a Stephen King book, not a newer book. Again, I'm fairly new to Stephen King, so I've got a lot of catching up to do. But just finished. Now, if you're following the channel, I'm still reading The Stand. So that's still ongoing. But I did on the side, some had in my car, but my car reading was The Colorado Kid by Stephen King. This is one of his hard case crime novels, and really a fairly quick read, 180 pages or so. This one has an excerpt from Joyland as well, which I haven't read that yet, and a really nice afterword by Stephen King kind of explaining his thought process, if you will, behind the book. And this is an illustrated edition. Also has some really neat pencil drawings depicting some of the scenes from the book. So, what is The Colorado Kid about if you haven't read it? Well, this is, if you haven't read it and you're used to Stephen King and some of the supernatural, the horror elements of Stephen King, this is not it. This is truly a mystery case, a crime case, where we have basically the entire book plays out as a conversation between our, I guess you can call her a main character, three main characters. Stephanie, who is a young journalist who is kind of being mentored by two older journalists, Vince and Dave. And so they begin to tell her about the story of the Colorado Kid and a case that is truly a mystery to them. And so they work throughout the book, and they're trying to help her ask the right questions to see if she can figure out the mystery of the Colorado Kid. So what is the story of the Colorado Kid? What's the mystery? Well, it turns out that this is several years before the book takes place, but a man is found dead on a beach in Maine. And of course, the question is, how did he die? And initially, it looks like a simple accident or a suicide, and it's dismissed. But these journalists begin to think that there's maybe a little more that needs to be explored and investigated. And so they do that, and they try to follow all the leads, and they trace him back. He's actually from Colorado, thus the Colorado Kid. He's married and has a child in Colorado. And so the mystery becomes, why does a man from Colorado who was seen at his job in Colorado late morning on a Wednesday suddenly appear dead on a beach in Maine later that day? And so they try to follow all the little clues, and they help Stephanie wrestle through what kind of questions she should be asking, kind of helping her tune her journalistic skills. And so there are some points, and it takes a little bit to get used to with the conversation style of the story, where the two older men, Vince and Dave, instead of straight out answering a lot of her questions, they simply kind of encourage her to think through and ask different questions. And so at first it's kind of frustrating, but then you remind yourself that they're trying to train her to become a better journalist, and so it makes sense why they're doing what they're doing. And so the entire book is just a conversation between these three as they walk her through and help her walk through some of the unanswered questions of the mystery of the Colorado Kid. So I won't go much farther than that in terms of what is behind this mystery and what's behind the death of this man, or why he ended up dead on that beach. And with that comes the big question of, is this a good book or not? And I think in a lot of ways it's going to come down to, because again, really easy read. You could probably read this in one sitting, maybe two. It took me several days just because I was primarily reading The Stand, but would just read this when my brain needed a little bit of a break from The Stand. So fairly easy read, enjoyable read. Really enjoy the three main characters. Whether or not you like the book, I think is going to come down to where you sit on the ending of the book and how the book ends and how things get resolved. That's probably going to make or break whether or not you like the book or not. And Stephen King acknowledges that. In the afterword, he says this is probably going to be a book that people either love or hate. And for me personally, I loved it. It was fun. It was easy. Really enjoyed it. Yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it. Now, for the Hard Case Crime series with Stephen King, that comes in the same series as Later by Stephen King. And so, for comparison's sake, how do these two stack up? Both of them for me were 5-star reads. Obviously, I'm maybe tipping my cap that so far I'm just loving everything of Stephen King's that I'm reading. So when it comes to these two books, I would say while they're both 5-star for me, I would say Later I enjoyed more. I like the action and the story of Later a little bit more. I also like the fact that there's kind of the classic Stephen King horror, paranormal-ish type element to it, where this is just straight up mystery crime drama. So again, both of these books were 5 stars for me. I would say Later by Stephen King was a little bit better than The Colorado Kid, but still thoroughly enjoyed Colorado Kid. I would say this might be, if you're not big into horror, this might be a decent place for you to start with Stephen King. Because again, Stephen King gets a lot of, I don't want to say he gets a reputation as horror because that's his thing. He's the king of horror. But we kind of forget some of the non-horror stories that he can tell. The movie Stand By Me, based on the book The Body by Stephen King, and Shawshank Redemption. So we get a lot of these great works of Stephen King that sometimes we overlook. And so if you're not into horror and just like a good crime mystery, I would really encourage you to pick this up. There's nothing of the horror or paranormal or gory that sometimes you associate with Stephen King. So this would be a pretty decent read, I think, to get a feel for Stephen King and his ability to develop characters and set a scene and develop a plot. And so thoroughly enjoyed this one, and look forward to eventually reading Joyland, which is quite a ways down on my TBR. Don't even have a copy of it yet, so that's quite a ways away. So with The Colorado Kid down, and I'm past the halfway point now of The Stand, and so that will be a review for that will be coming up eventually. Other than that, I think last week I talked about reading a Dune book, and I think I'm going to go Dune Messiah as my next read. I really want to dive into another Stephen King. I'm forcing myself to branch away from that for a book, which, I mean, Dune is probably my favorite book, so it should make sense that I'd be eager to read Dune Messiah. I've just been so caught up in the Stephen King universe, but reading my way through The Stand, over halfway through, and going to be picking up Dune Messiah here in the next few days to read through that. So that's where I'm at, and again, Colorado Kid by Stephen King. Really encourage you. Really enjoyed this book. Very easy read, quick read, great little story, fun little read. None of the typical Stephen King type plot points. So if that's intriguing to you at all, I would encourage you to pick this up. I think you'll enjoy it. So that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. Again, be sure to like and subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, share it with a friend, and let me know your thoughts down below. If you read The Colorado Kid, what you thought of it. If you also read Later, how would you compare the two? Which one did you like better? Again, I'd love to interact with you more down in the comments. So thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you back here next time. Have a great day.